mitigate against, including moving it. But including back-to-back planning and investment will only get worse. Poverty is already more endemic in border communities, and Brexit will inevitably contribute to a worsening of that situation. In spite of this, there are positives. The regional colleges do an amazing job, and my local college, the South West College, has 25,000 enrolments this year across 4 campuses. They're investing in our youth and in job creation. Manufacturing and food production in South Tyrone employs thousands of people thanks to the support of the college network and bespoke training. Tourism is on the increase, driven mainly by individuals and not by government within the sector. And farming and fishing, while always challenging, are contributing to employment, food production and the rural way of life. Appropriate supports to enhance economic growth, investment, social cohesion and community well-being are essential if we are to encourage dynamic, forward-thinking rural communities who contribute to show the type of resilience that we're famous for. During this section, we'll hear from motion 48. I'd ask for your support to amend that motion because that resilience is fast running out and we need all of the help and support that we can get. Rural people contribute much to the health and prosperity of our nation. Let's value and support them to do this into the future. Gur míle maith agam.
And just as Francie Malloy is making his way to the stage, could I remind speakers to keep it as near to 2 minutes as possible so all of the speakers will get in for this section. Thank you, Francie. I know you always do what you're told.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. Francie Malloy, MP from Ulster, also representing South East Tyrone, Corley-Cantor. Investing in the West was a policy of the Executive, and Martin McGuinness was key to actually driving that in the West and in Derry in particular. We can't actually just pay lip service to it. We need to actually implement it. For years, Stormont and direct rural ministers didn't do that. They actually didn't create the investment. The M1 stopped at Portadown and the M2 stopped at Randallstown. Anything west of the Ban didn't exist. Dale Farm, for instance, a local creamery, was actually told when they wanted extra electricity supply that they should move to Ballymena instead of actually in Cookstown where they had their base. Engineering has been a big project right across Tyrone. Tyrone engineering is major right across the world. 3 businesses that I have been dealing with recently had to divide the supply of electricity between them. Instead of what they actually wanted, each one of them could have took the same supply. They wanted to expand their business, they wanted to create employment, they wanted to expect to actually develop further in the years to come. 2 businesses, Dungannon and Coal Island, again can't get supply because of no electricity. And yet we've been cut off. So I asked the Ardash here today to actually ensure that we actually do support the idea that we need the interconnector. We need it now, we don't need delays, we don't need to go on any longer. The amendment that is actually put forward is not an amendment, it's the direct opposite, because they're saying it can only happen. We need it now. In 3 years' time, engineering will have to stop because of no room for expansion, because of no electricity supply. So we need an electricity supply west of the Ban now if we're going to redirect the underinvestment that we've had for so many years. Go on, Michael.
Thank you, Francie.
Corja, Colm Carthy, Keenan Doherty, Cumming, Carrick Cross, County Monaghan. I'm calling on delegates to support the amendment to motion 48 on the Clár. Owing to the fact that there is almost no community support for the use of high voltage overhead pylons and that Sinn Féin representatives in each affected county have supported the anti-pylon campaigns, we will only support the project if it is undergrounded, as has been the party policy since the interconnector was first mooted over a decade ago. A number of weeks ago, Matt Carthy MEP invited a delegation of campaigners to Brussels to meet with a company called Alia, who, unlike Airgrid or Sony, have recognised the concerns of the public and undergrounded a similar in size interconnector project between Belgium and Germany. Undergrounding can be done, it must be done, and we should not accept the alternative. I would ask for delegates to support this amendment. I would also call on delegates to support motion 49, which clarifies the party's current position. Gur míle maith agam.
Accordia, Louise Briley, West Waterford, Cumming. Speaking on behalf of motion 72 and against the amendment. Why hair coursing should be banned. Hair coursing is cruel. It involves the capture of thousands of wild hares every season, which are then detained and kept in captivity for up to 8 weeks. Many hares are injured and die at the time from injuries being tossed in the air by the muzzled dogs or from stress myopathy after release. Sinn Féin Ardèche supported a ban on hair coursing in 2009. One of the main arguments, it was overturned in 2010, was that it protects the hare by not driving the activity underground and so allowing for regulation. But this does not stack up for 2 reasons. The first, we do not use this argument to defend legalising other barbaric activities such as badger baiting and dog or cockfighting. To do so would be to condone and encourage. The same principle should apply to hair coursing. The Irish Council Against Blood Sports recommend and petition for a ban on hair coursing. They have done extensive research and without doubt have the animal's best interest at heart. To continue to support hair coursing is a contradiction on Sinn Féin's position on animal welfare in other areas, including our recent support of legislation banning wild animals in circuses. The claim that hair coursing is a traditional rural sport is highly questionable. First, it was introduced relatively recently to Ireland by the British, and secondly, that argument has been well challenged with regards to other cruel practices, which were once considered traditional pastimes but now considered unacceptable and cruel, such as dog and cockfighting. Finally, hair coursing is now banned in most countries, including our nearest neighbours, England, Scotland and Wales. It is also banned in the North since 2011, so in the interests of legislative harmonisation, as we move closer to a united Ireland, we need to reverse the current policy and reinstate our position to support a ban on this cruel practice. So please vote against the amendment to motion 72 and support our motion number 72 to ban hair coursing. Gaurav Moragos.
Cuivin o Quailon, TD Cavan agus Muinacon, speaking in support of the amendment to motion number 48 and in support of motion number 49. I fully support the sentiments contained in motion 48 as tabled. It is what it does not state that is at the core of our long-standing policy position on this vexed issue. We as a party have steadfastly stood shoulder to shoulder with campaigning communities, the people who will have to host this infrastructure as it makes its way from County Meath and through counties Cavan, Monaghan, Armagh and to its destination in County Tyrone. They are adamant, and they are right to be adamant, that this electricity connector will only come to pass by underground cabling. They, and we with other political voices, have championed this approach. Ergrid, NIE, Sony seek to impose a pylon-supported overhead cable across this relatively unspoiled landscape with all the negative and repeatedly highlighted consequences for the several hundred rural-based families along its intended route. For all the right reasons, we have said no from day one, and we must remain solidly on track on this very important issue. For me and for Sinn Féin across the affected counties of this cross-border region, there can be no dilution of our decade-long policy and activism in support of the campaigning groups North East Pylon Pressure, County Monaghan Anti-Pylon Committee and Safe Electricity Armagh Tyrone. I ask you all, fellow delegates, to stand with me and with all our number who have but one message and one message only for the campaigning organisations and the thousands of people they represent and speak for, and that message is: we are with you, and we are with you all the way. Delegates, I again appeal to you to support the amendment to Motion 48 and to support Motion 49. And just before I go, on a separate issue, and for all the common sense reasons of proper evaluation and planning, I urge you too to support the Ard Comhairle amendment to Motion number 55 on car insurance. The intent of the drafters of the motion is 100%. We just have to get it right. Gora Mila Mahigov.
Gemma Dolan, Sinn Féin MLA for Fermanagh South Tyrone, and Joe McManus, Coleman Garrison. Speaking very briefly in support of the amendment to Motion 48 and in support of Motion 49. The North-South Interconnector is a very necessary and very exciting project which will pass through part of my constituency. And as party spokesperson on North-South integration, I obviously welcome any cross-border cooperation. But this is one project that can only go ahead if it is undergrounded. As we heard earlier, Matt Carthy recently led a delegation to the HQ of Belgian electricity supplier Elia, who have an underground interconnector between Belgium and Germany. This visit, which I was on, proved to us that a project of this scale is possible. We need this electricity supply, but we also need to stand with the local communities and continue to campaign for the undergrounding of the North-South interconnector. So I ask you to vote in support of amendment to Motion 48 and support of Motion 49. Thank you.
Good morning, Akarja. As has been mentioned, in September, a large delegation consisting of community representatives, experts on the field of electricity, and Sinn Féin public and Sony don't have public acceptance as a criteria at all. As it is respecting the wishes of their communities, the Elia underground project will be delivered at least 7 years faster than EirGrid's overhead project. EirGrid have ignored the public acceptance criteria at all and have engaged instead in a campaign of dismissal and demonisation against those who express any alternative view to those. And disgracefully, they're using public funds, and many of you will have seen this, in paying for their campaign with countless hundreds of thousands of euro in sponsorship and advertising of their misleading message. Sony and EirGrid obviously have might on their side, but on the other side, they face local, proud rural communities, and those communities need political support. Fianna Fáil in government supported EirGrid, now they're in opposition, they're claiming to support communities. Fine Gael in opposition supported the communities, now they're fully behind EirGrid's plan. Only one party from the very outset of this campaign, through very clear, unambiguous policy position, has been on the side of local communities, and that has been Sinn Féin. Our position has been endorsed by successive Ardeshna, and we need to ensure that there is no confusion or no question in regard to that message. Yes, we support the development of a North-South connector, but we've recognised from day one that it can only happen if it's used using underground technology. The evidence is there. Undergrounding is the safest, most effective, most cost-efficient and speediest way of delivering this infrastructure. In fact, it's the only way in which it's going to happen at all. Rural communities across Ireland, as has been said, are under attack. EirGrid's actions have formed part of that attack. If we're serious about supporting rural Ireland, then we need to remain steadfast in supporting our policies to protect them. Delegates, please support Motion 49 and support the amendment to Motion 48.
Pat Traynor, Tony Ahern, Common Clonus. I'm here to support the amendment to Motion 48 and Motion 49. As a local councillor in Monaghan, we work very closely with our own communities. And one of the very positive things that happened out of the Good Friday Agreement was the establishment of the All-Ireland Energy Strategy. And obviously that requires lines and connections and the network to be linked up. But the community through which this overhead power is travelling, or is proposed to travel through pylons, that community, the landowners have got together and have said they don't want it to be overground, but we're totally in support of it being underground. Last Monday evening, myself and a number of my councillor colleagues sat with 200 to 300 of those landowners and neighbours in the Auchnamullin GAA Club, you could feel the determination from that group of people that this lane will not be built if it's through pylons. So I think we should use all of our energy to put the pressure on, particularly the government, to have this lane underground. EirGrid did say that they will follow government policy, and if government policy can be forced to change to underground this lane, then that's the way it'll happen. Somebody talked about we're not hungry for power. In this case, we are hungry for power, but we want to see it undergrounded.
Martin Ferris, Kerry-Cola Counter. I'm speaking against motion 72 and in favour of the amendment to motion 72. And this is in relation to our current policy regarding hair coursing. In 2010, this party supported a motion in support of hair coursing, but in a regulated way to ensure the minimise any hurt or cruelty to the animals involved. Rural Ireland, as many of us here from rural Ireland would know, is not in a very good place financially, and its viability is very much in question. Coursing is traditional, it's part of our culture, and also it is a very, very contributing part of our industry to maintain a sustainability of rural Ireland. Our current policy believes that hair coursing practices should be regulated to ensure sustainable wildlife management and to minimise unnecessary suffering to the animals involved. And that's what our motion in 2010 done. The consequences of that motion has been that more and more regulation has come in order to ensure that the hair coursing industry minimises any unnecessary suffering to the animals involved, and that includes the greyhounds. I would also like here to pay special recognition to the slippers involved in hair coursing. They are very, very professional, and at all times the interest of the survival of the hare is paramount. Hair coursing, the hares that are in captivity until the coursing takes place are inoculated and treated for any disease. Their welfare is paramount before they are coursing, and they're released immediately afterwards. So I would ask you to support the amendment 72 and do not allow hair coursing to be driven underground, and therefore we would have no protection whatsoever for the animals involved.
Seamus Brown, Limerick, Cola Counter. I'm asking you today to support motion 55. The price of car insurance is scandalous, and it is a national scandal. The only threat that these insurance companies will respond to is the threat of nationalisation. And our motion is to nationalise the insurance industry in this country. Struggling families are asked to pay thousands of euros to insure their car. These costs are unjustified. The insurance companies have made no good argument for their price and their price increases. And government has not stood in to drive down those prices. And I'm asking this Ardèche to support that motion, drive down the price of car insurance and give working families a real chance. I'm also asking that you would support the amendment to motion number 72. Hair coursing is part of the culture and the heritage of rural Ireland, and I think it is important that we respect the culture and the heritage of rural Ireland. The hares, which is the concern of everybody in this room, are well looked after. The industry is now regulated. Vets take care of the hares. The hares' welfare is first and foremost in the mind of the courser, the coursing clubs, and the participants in the coursing. And I would hope that you would support the amendment to that motion. Gorv Míle Mahagat.
Porrick Pearse Haggerty, de Limrine coming at Loan. Friends, in recent years we've all witnessed the pain and suffering which was caused by flooding on the island of Ireland. More needs to be done to ensure that an action plan, a timely response and supports are promptly available and implemented to communities when such national disasters occur. The Irish Government needs to take seriously the protection of those in need of protection when such flooding disasters occur. This is in line with homeowners, businesses and farmers faced with such unforeseeable disasters. We must continue to ensure that our rural communities and islanders are also protected, and that funding for infrastructure is allocated to help these communities to continue to survive and to prosper. On a positive note, I must take this opportunity to recognise all those involved in the current works, which is now commenced in Athlone, on the flood defence system. This is very much welcomed. However, it needs to be replicated around the country, and I would urge my fellow Athlonian, Minister Moran, to see that this becomes a reality for the towns, villages and cities which such works is of vital importance. Please support motion 67. Gar Míle Mágat.
Could I just remind speakers that there's quite a long queue at the side of the stage. If they could keep it as brief as possible so that we can get as many speakers as possible in. Gar Mágat.
Councillor Kenneth Flood, Bobby Sands, Cumandrada, supporting emergency motion 2. This Ardèche recognised that given the greater Drogheda urban area is now the 5th largest in the state with a population of 80,000, meets the criteria of the EU Commission and the OECD for city status based on population per density. In the last 20 years, Drogheda's population has doubled from over 40,000 to over 80,000. In that time, Drogheda has been left out of every national plan, spatial strategy and framework. What we have now is an urban centre, the 5th largest in the state, with no proper infrastructure to run it, which is why I'm asking for the Ardèche to back emergency motion 2. Thanks.
Melda Munster, Bobby Sands, Cumann Drogheda. I'm also speaking in support of emergency motion number 2, city status for Drogheda. Drogheda is the largest town in the state and it's the 5th largest urban centre. Drogheda has been left out of the spatial strategy, left out of the city status initiative. Drogheda is centrally positioned on the north-south corridor. We're positioned, we have motorway, rail, we've access 20 minutes from the state's airport, and we have a thriving port. Drogheda, like many other councils, was stripped of its borough council status, stripped of its town clerk, stripped of any semblance of power that we once had, and I urge delegates to support emergency motion number 2. I'd also like just briefly to speak against motion number 58. This motion contradicts our existing policy on drink driving. Figures for drink driving are on the increase, particularly with younger people. So from our policy, we have a policy of no tolerance of drink driving, and one death on our roads is one death too many. So I'd urge delegates to vote against motion 58.
Liam Laban, Fergal Ciar Harim, McCreesh Common, Greenmore and Ballymacnab, County Armagh. I'm speaking to propose motion 68 regarding exploitation of our non-renewable resources by private corporates and stand in solidarity with communities in Armagh and Tyrone who are actively taking a stand against private gold mine companies. In recent times, local communities have been protesting against private companies who have tried to, and in some cases have been successful in profiteering by creaming off Ireland's natural resources. In counties Tyrone and Armagh, big corporates have sought refuge in areas of outstanding natural beauty, attempting to explore and extract from Ireland's lucrative gold mines. They've run roughshod over communities by way of a charm offensive, offering them little in terms of so-called community benefits, while they cut up our land. Some of these companies have proposed using the highly toxic and killer chemical cyanide as part of their processing procedure. This has instilled real fear in the rural community of Greencastle and County Tyrone, given the impact which the use of cyanide may have on the environment, the livestock and the people. Ireland's natural resources belong to the people of Ireland. The democratic programme of the First Dáil affirmed that we declare that the nation's sovereignty extends not only to the men and women of the nation, but to all its material possessions, the nation's soil and all of its resources, all the wealth and all the wealth-producing processes within the nation. We need to take a stand against our nation's wealth being signed off to private business interests whose sole objective is to make big profits. In the context of a new Irish Republic, the potential wealth generated from the exploration of our minerals should be used to clear hospital waiting lists, end homelessness, lift people out of poverty and improve the well-being of everybody in society. We need to stand up for our environment and ensure that cyanide isn't used to destroy our countryside and its people. We need to stand in solidarity with communities who are resisting private gold mine companies from seizing Ireland's natural resources. There can be no room for ambiguity. They need to know that Sinn Féin is on their side. Sinn Féin need to be on their side. So I'd ask you please to support motion 68. Gar míle maith.
Good morning, delegates. Chris Corran, Dublin South. I'm speaking in relation to motion 60 that refers to the compulsory fitting of dash cams into motor vehicles. Look, the thrust behind this motion is very clear. It is about to encourage accountability and road safety for pedestrians, and motorists, and particularly cyclists. I suppose this year so far we've had the deaths of 13 cyclists on our road. What I would say in relation to it, this is a fairly bold motion in a sense of what it proposes to do. But I suppose once upon a time we did have a discussion regarding, the plastic bags and a charge with plastic bags, and I suppose once upon a time about also banning smoking from pubs. The intention behind this motion is to do something similar and to bring about a greater sense of road safety. What I will also say in particular is that in relation to car technology is going this way anyway, okay? One vital part of it, I suppose, is that if we look at any new vehicles that are being produced now, the half of the equipment is already there, it's already fitted, the slots are there in the windows. So let's be the type of party that is about saving lives, and let's push ahead with this particular item. What I will say in relation to the Gerlach statements there earlier on is that this particular motion will be referred to the incoming Ard Corla, and that the proposers of the motions also agree with that. Gur míle maith. Thank you.
Dies Marie Vermadden, Carrot O'Sullivan, Martin Doherty, Cummins, Clocknaquilta, Clonakilty, Corky. I'd like to speak on two motions, but I don't have the time, so I'm going to basically plead for everyone to support Ruan Quaigahane, calling for the restoration of town councils. I was a Sinn Féin town councillor myself for 20 years. We had a wrong call on not defending town councils in the last local government bill. Other parties have come to that conclusion as well and are now running vigorously to try and get the town councils of some sort restored in our communities. But I basically want to concentrate particularly on Ruan Shockdo Ado and the amendment to 72 about the hair coursing issue. I want to support, ask you to vote against the amendment. I'm from the country myself, by the way, just in case people don't know. Clonakilty is not a big city. I'm speaking here on this occasion, thankfully. The last time I tried on this a number of years ago at an Ardish, Jack O'Connor took precedent for half an hour. So the amendment has words there that really are not compatible with welfare. Unnecessary suffering, so that means there is an acceptable level of suffering involved. Protecting the animals involved, how can you protect something that's running for its life? It's down as a sport. Sport to me is when equals compete for something like 15 people on a team on each side, or two boxers of equal weight, or whatever the case may be. So a couple of thousand years ago, we had the Colosseum in Rome with lions mauling Christians. The only difference in my view on this is that there's all the participants in coursing have 4 legs. Our colleague and our esteemed TD from Kerry, Martin, said about the economic benefits and all that in rural Ireland, and that this is a necessary activity. Well, you know, I would think it's time for Sinn Féin to be brave on this particular issue. We supported the smoking ban despite a lot of lobbying from people and the doom and gloom situation that was promised if the smoking ban came in. We were brave on that one. We support the things like the drink driving, lower alcohol levels that were mentioned earlier on, and all that kind of thing. So I'm asking people to reject the amendment and to support and be brave on this matter once and for all, because it is an embarrassment to be a member of Sinn Féin to support this.
Brendan O'Brien, Patrick, Conroy, Cumming, Castlereagh, County Roscommon, supporting motion 54. The west of Ireland has suffered disproportionately from the lack of investment in infrastructure, jobs and public services. This has caused rural depopulation and immigration from communities like my own in West Roscommon. We should be ensuring that every effort is made to facilitate young people in rural Ireland to remain in their community and their county. It's a catch-22 for us. The lack of jobs mean we can't work locally. High rents mean we can't access accommodation in the bigger towns and cities. The lack of adequate public transport means we can't get to and from major urban centres, and due to the astronomical fees being charged by insurance companies, it is not realistic for me to put a car on the road. In recent times, I've been quoted anything from $4,000 to $8,000 per annum for car insurance. This is totally unacceptable, especially when these obscene premiums are largely a result of insurance companies trying to recover their losses from poor investment decisions. We need the government to address the issue of car insurance premiums immediately. It's not good enough anymore for them to sit on their hands while rural Ireland is drained of its young people and labour force. Only this summer, the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission raided the offices of insurers and Insurance Ireland as part of an investigation into price fixing. An insurance regulator should have the ability to bring some sense to this fiasco. The issue is about more than the luxury of having a car to travel the country in. For many people in rural Ireland, a car is the only means of transport, which to access a health care, education, employment and a range of other social services. It was bad enough that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael presided over the devastation of our rural towns and villages, but now they want to put us out of our communities, already overcrowded towns and cities. It's time we shouted stop.
Thank you. Can I ask the Costa Stewart to identify the final speaker of this section, please?
Seamus Green, Councillor for Mananoma, Fergal O'Hanlon, Common Brookborough. I am here to speak on motion 64 and to ask delegates to support it. For those of you who don't know about the Areas of Natural Constraint scheme, it provides a payment for farmers who work on the land in the most severely disadvantaged areas to compensate for the additional costs and income related to the constraints of farming in these areas. The last Minister of Agriculture in the North, the DUP's Michelle McElveen, made the decision to scrap the scheme from 2018. If the ANC scheme is not reintroduced, it will be the death knell for rural communities that are already struggling. Without farmers in these areas, rural post offices, schools, small grocery shops, local hardware stores will come under threat, and a way of life that has existed in this country for centuries will come to an end. It is not often that farmers and environmentalists agree, and yet on the ANC scheme we all agree. It must be reintroduced in the best interest of all nature lovers and the natural environment. It should be also noted that almost 3/4 of the farmers in severely disadvantaged areas in the north are from the nationalist background. One wonders if these figures had been reversed, would a DUP Agriculture Minister have scrapped the Areas of Natural Constraint scheme? I doubt it. Please support motion 64. Gormir Morgan.
Gormagib, I'd like to thank all the speakers on that section. Now we're going to go to the votes, and I would ask delegates to clearly display their cards to indicate their voting. And the first one I'll go to is the emergency motion number 2. That's in your yellow in your yellow sheets about Drogheda, city status for Drogheda. So that's the emergency motion. So all those in favour? Inaya? There's one against. Tonrún Glachta. Okay, so we'll go on to the clore and we'll start with Rune 44 around leader. Eve over. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 45. Eve over. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 46. Inai. Or Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 47. Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Now, Rune 48, there's an amendment, so I'll put the amendment first. So all those in favour of the amendment, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Now I'll put the substantive motion with the amendment on 48. Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 49. Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 50. Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 51, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 52, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 53, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 54, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 55, there's an amendment to that, as you'll know. So I'll put the amendment to the floor first. Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. That's the amendment. Now I'll put the substantive motion to the floor. 55. Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 56 is referred to the incoming Ard Corla, and Rune 57 is referred to the incoming Ard Corla with the agreement of the proposers. So I'll go on to Rune 58, Evover. Inai. Can I just see that again? Evover on 58. Inai. Tosha Kalcha. Rune 59, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 60 is referred to the incoming Ard Corla again with the agreement of the proposer. So Rune 61, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 62, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 63, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 64, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 65, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 66, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 67, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 68, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 69, Evover. Inai. Tosha Glachta. Rune 70, Evover. Inai. Tá sé glacta. Now, Rule 71 is referred again to the incoming Ard Corla with the agreement of the proposer. So Rule 72, there's an amendment first. So I'm going to put the amendment to the floor. Eve over. In aye. Yeah, I think we'll need tellers. Have we got tellers here? So if I could ask people again, Eve over of the amendment to show your card. Those figures. Sorry about this, your arms will be getting tired. Have we got a figure in the evolver before I go on to the NI? Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Can we have all those against the amendment in aye? Okay, that amendment has been passed. So those in favour. Now that's just the amendment. So now I'm going to put the motion with the amendment to the floor. So all those in favour? In aye, all those against? Tá sé glacta. Okay, that ends the voting in this section. I would remind people that the live section will be starting and people to be in their seats within the next couple of minutes, or people to stay in their seats. Just before you do that, there are a couple of headphones for the translators missing. So if anybody has taken them by mistake or forgot to leave them back, I would ask you to please leave them back. The headphones, they need to be left back. So I thank you all for voting. I thank all the speakers in this section and enjoy the rest of the day. Gormagiv. Where do they want me now? Do they want us down? I have no makeup on me.
Okay, if I can ask people just to take your seats, please. The RTE live section is due to begin in 2 minutes. So if people can just make their way into the hall and take their seats, please, before this live section starts. Thank you. Okay, if people can just be seated now for the beginning of the live section. There are some seats up here at the front. Okay, our first speaker in the live section will be Mary Lou MacDonald.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Who'll count me in? If I could sing, I would, but I can't, so I won't.
Okay, our first speaker for the live section will be Mary Lou MacDonald.
Well, Gurmila Mahagwiv, August Tá fáilte mór romh a lé chun an ordeis seo inniu, agus tá sé iontach go bhfuil sibh ling in Maileo Clia. A very, very warm welcome, Sinn Féin delegates and RTE viewers alike, to our ordeis here in Dublin's RDS. It's always a particular pleasure for me to welcome one and all to my home city, to the rebel city of Dublin, the city that fought an empire. At our last ordeis, and of course the home of Sam Maguire. Yeah, I wasn't sure that would get a cheer. At our last ordeis, we celebrated the centenary of the Easter Rising and the heroism of the women and men who took a stand for Ireland, for liberty and for social justice at that time. And in commemorating those momentous events, we recommitted ourselves to the pursuit and the achievement of the Republic. An Ireland in which every child is cherished, where women and men, young and old, rural and urban, settled and traveller, gay and straight, black and white, orange and green, can live in a free and reconciled Ireland. Our last ordeis was very special also for a reason that none of us could have foreseen. It was our last ordeis with Martin. And we feel the loss of him, and we miss him, not least this weekend. But Martin's legacy, his passion, and his guiding hand is with us yet. And at this ordeis, we, the women and men of Sinn Féin, drawn from every corner of Ireland, from the hamlets, villages and towns of our rural communities, from the urban centres and city centres of our country, reaffirm our absolute commitment to a peaceful, reconciled Ireland. We state again our absolute determination to make peace, to build respect, to agree a new Ireland in which all of our people are at home. We will be true to the legacy of Martin McGuinness. We will keep faith with all who have gone before us as together we build our future. We remain committed to full power sharing in the North, to shared democratic institutions, to achieving an agreement on the basis of respect, integrity and equality. And we say again that agreement can only be secured and the institutions re-established on a sustainable basis when agreements previously entered into are honoured by all. Tá saoil a gathru, tá fulltíocht a gathru fud na hÉireann. Unionism has lost its majority in the Stormont Assembly. People in the North voted to remain within the European Union, and Brexit looms with all the grave threats it poses to the Irish economy, to our collective well-being, and to the Good Friday Agreement. And against this backdrop, the debate on Irish unity has developed real momentum, and we are united Irelanders, and that we will remain. We will work hard to end partition, to end division. We will work hard for new understandings, new relationships in a new Ireland, and we will never forget or resile from our proud history as Irish Republican women and men. The so-called Confidence and Supply Coalition arrangement in the Dáil serves only to confirm the political establishment's indifference and inability to act in the interests of the many, of the ordinary citizens. And all the talk about new politics simply emphasises that there is nothing new in Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil monopolising power. They've been at that for almost 100 years. Our new Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, is some crack. The head of government presides over a housing emergency which has left thousands without a roof over their head, which has moved home ownership beyond the reach of an entire generation. He's a Taoiseach who tries to deny and minimise the scale of this emergency. The same Taoiseach fights the corner of corporate tax avoidance. He defends sweetheart deals with the banks to avoid paying corporation tax for decades. Now, this Taoiseach, my friends, says that I'm cranky. Leo, you haven't seen cranky. You haven't seen cranky, not yet. And of course, Leo couldn't get away with all of this but for Micheál Martin and Fianna Fáil, because you see, Micheál isn't cranky. In fact, he's very accommodating, obliging, docile even. And the occasional sham fight, the bit of political horseplay between Leo's lads and Micheál's lads, well, that's all just a necessary part of the game of make-believe that Fianna Fáil is a party of opposition. So we know that none of the contrived political drama of so-called new politics can hide the fact that Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, between them, have failed in government, that they continue to fail in government. But unlike them, we are committed to ending family homelessness, to delivering social and affordable homes. Sinn Féin wants to invest in bricks and mortar to deliver those homes for working families. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael want to line the pockets of private landlords and developers. Unlike them, we're not afraid to take on vested interests. We're not afraid to take on the insider culture or white-collar crime. You see, we represent real new politics, change, ambition, new beginnings. So, we believe in getting things done. And we in Sinn Féin have the policies, we have the people to deliver decisions that will transform Ireland, our future, and deliver economic stability that lasts. And we understand that economic stability and social justice are not competing demands. In fact, they are complementary. Equal opportunities delivers economic stability. To those of you watching at home, this is our pledge to you. Táimid Erdohevsa. We are on your side. Be on our side and join with us in our journey to a new Ireland. And now, my friends, as we look forward to our future, we are very mindful of events in the world beyond us. I'm sure all of you have been following events in Catalonia. We in Sinn Féin have stood shoulder to shoulder with the Catalan people who have peacefully and democratically sought to determine their future. And despite the shocking scenes of police brutality during the independence referendum, we saw very inspiring images of over 2 million people proudly and democratically voting in their historic referendum. Elections are due on the 21st of December in Catalonia, and our next speaker will no doubt be campaigning in those elections. I am enormously proud to introduce to you Jordi Soler, MEP, a member of Esquerra Republicana de Catalunya, a proud Catalan, and I ask you, friends, to join with me in affording to Jordi a warm Sinn Féin welcome. Go ahead. Here, give me your hand.
Falcha Garcha, bon dia, good morning. First of all, let me thank you, friends from Sinn Féin, for having invited me to your art age, but especially for your support of democratic demands of the great majority of the Catalan people. We feel your solidarity and appreciate it a lot. Your MEPs have always been with us at the European Parliament, as many of you have been with us from other places and institutions, and have supported our actions and our demands at such critical moments for us, at a time when many, far too many pro-status quo parties and institutions have basically abandoned us. And we will always be grateful to you. Thanks a lot. Dear friends, last October the 1st, an extraordinary thing happened in my country. People remember the horrific scenes of police brutality on that day, the images of people hurt by the Spanish police while they were just trying to peacefully vote on our self-determination referendum. This, of course, happened, even if the Spanish authorities tried to deny or minimize it. They left more than 1,000 people injured and a great sense of shame shared by many people around the world. But from that day, I also want to remember, I also prefer to remember the enormous demonstration of democratic dignity by the people of Catalonia. In front of a Spanish state that showed its most threatening side, that removed the mask and rebuilt its democratic weakness, people organized themselves to peacefully defend the polling stations and ballot boxes. We wanted to vote to decide our future, and we wanted to do it against all threats and all fears. We wanted to vote to defend our basic rights, and despite all the repression, more than 2.3 million people managed to cast our vote. We voted, but by voting, we also found out that Spain was prepared to impede our self-determination, even with the use of violence. So by voting, we highlighted the limits of Spanish democracy. Because people know that a state that desperately chases ballot papers and ballot boxes and shut down websites and threatens media to avoid a referendum from taking place, a state like this has a problem with democracy. And people know that when you want to vote, yes or no, but just vote, and you get beaten with brutality by the police, just because you want to vote, you cannot call it a democracy. And people also know that when half of a democratic government is in jail, not because they have committed any crime, not because they have robbed any bank, but because they just organize a vote, this isn't democratic either. This is rather shameful. And all of us know that democracies shouldn't use the law to prevent democracy, that widely shared and democratically legitimized political demands require political solutions and not police officers or judges, that every nation has the right to self-determination and that no nation deserves to be humiliated when trying to exercise its right. dear friends, but after defending democracy against the police truncheons, we Catalans all of a sudden found ourselves asking, Europe, where are you? Where were you? Many of us expected our fundamental rights as EU citizens to be defended and to be protected by something called the European Union, but we were completely mistaken. Perhaps because we thought that the European Union was something more than a group of states and a single market, a union of fundamental values and rights that must be respected in every corner of the Union and by every government. But we were wrong, and now we have even more reasons to fight for changing this distant European Union. This week in the European Parliament, we had plenary session in Strasbourg, and there we had debates and resolutions on the state of democracy and rule of law in Malta and Poland. So far, so good. During the debate on Poland, the European Commission's Vice President, Mr. Timmermans, said democracy cannot be used to erode the rule of law. And I want to tell him the contrary also applies. Rule of law shouldn't be used to erode democracy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what's happening in Spain. Even though the biggest political groups in the European Parliament don't think this situation is worth enough a resolution. So the main governments and political families across Europe, with few honorable exceptions, keep telling us that the law must be respected even if the law is used to weaken democracy. But if they just want to focus on legality and the rule of law instead of democracy, no problem. We can talk about it at length. We can talk about how Mr. Rajoy has taken over the Catalan government and has shut down the Catalan parliament in a completely illegal way against the constitution they praise so much. So where is the rule of law here? Or how the 8 members of our government were sent to jail without bail and without the minimum procedural guarantees and with arbitrary and scandalous accusations. What is the rule of law here? Or how, instead of separation of powers, what we face is abuse of powers. And there is no rule of law when power is abused. And you know what's the biggest irony in all this? The biggest irony, my friends, is that one of the most corrupt parties in Europe, the ruling Partido Popular, wants to teach us about legality and about the rule of law. That a government of a member state which holds the record for not complying with EU laws wants to teach us about laws. My party, the Catalan Republican Left, has never in our 85 years of history had a single corruption scandal. And nevertheless, our party president and vice president of the Catalan government, my friend Oriol Junqueras, is now in jail. Is this justice? Whereas Rajoy's party is a corruption machine affected by innumerable scandals whose investigations take ages. Maybe that's why it's worth for him to take the hard way against Catalonia. While attention focuses on these rebellious Catalans, the rising corruption scandals from his party go unnoticed. Now, something that the Catalan Republic is going forever, that it only lasted for a couple of hours after its proclamation on October the 27th. They might be claiming victory too early. Rajoy has called for an illegal and imposed election to the Catalan parliament on December the 21st. But we will be there. We will meet at the ballot boxes again. And we might win again. And what will happen then? What if people give a majority to those of us who defend the Catalan Republic as a way to build a fairer, more advanced, and more democratic society? What if it happens after all the repression, of all the authoritarianism that we have seen and that we have endured? Spanish parties need to tell us something very clearly. Do you agree or not that in democracy, all political projects aligned with basic values and supported by democratic majorities have the right not only to be defended, but also to be implemented? If so, will they at last respect the results and the democratic will of the people as expressed in the ballot boxes? So as you see, the struggle to defend a republic for Catalonia is also the struggle for democracy. Our struggle is also for our colleagues who are in prison. We demand their freedom. We want them back home. That's why I am wearing this yellow ribbon. Set them free. We want them back home. Free our political prisoners. We want them home, those in jail and those in Belgium, because it's a shame that our legitimate government, half of it is in Madrid in jail, and the other half is in exile in Belgium. Shame on you. And this struggle is also for all those who stand for freedom and advocate a peaceful solution through the ballot boxes, as all democrats do. And ours is also a struggle for a better and more democratic European Union. So, my friends, we count on you, friends of Sinn Féin, because what's at stake in Catalonia is not only the future of a European nation, but also the endurance of basic values and fundamental rights in Europe. So I wish you well in your endeavors. Thank you so much. Go row, my good. Thank you.
Muid moya harja, dahas orm ve arash a cancho workeist and amashaw into natira. The Brexit referendum result a year ago has swept away many of the previous political assumptions about the constitutional, political and economic status quo of the 6 counties. Ireland's political landscape is set to change dramatically over the next number of years. Add to this the recent Assembly and Westminster election results, which show that the electorate and the wider nationalist population are once again re-engaged in the political process. These elections have activated a transformation that would be unimaginable to the founders of the Northern State almost a century ago. For Sinn Féin, this is all about defending people's rights, their interests, and shaping our constitutional, political and economic future on this island, not just for us as Republicans, but for everyone out there. There is a strong sense across the island that we are now entering into a new political era, and that a new conversation is now underway about the future. Not just among the political class, but everybody is now talking about the future. Taking dinna go bhfuil sé seo a lig faoin taithí. People understand that this is about the future. The old certainties are gone. The unionist majority has ended. Europe is in a state of flux. And people here know that Brexit will be a disaster for our economy. And that is why a cross-community majority of citizens in the North voted against it last June. It will be a disaster for our local businesses, for our farmers, for our wider agri-food industry, for the health service, for workers' rights, for border communities and for our peace process. Brexit and the Good Friday Agreement are simply not compatible. It undermines the constitutional, institutional and political framework, and it is literally an act of political vandalism. It is not in our economic interests. And despite all of this, the Tory government, it's being forced upon us by the Tory government, a reckless, self-serving and dangerous Tory government who do not care if we become collateral damage. This is a government that is being propped up by the DUP for their own electoral survival. Well, it's time to get real. Partition divided our people, our economy, our public services and the democratic system. It was wrong and it has failed. The ending of partition has now taken on a whole new dynamic following the Brexit referendum. We are sensibly arguing the case for the North to be designated special status within the EU. We must have access to the single market. There can be no borders or no trade tariffs, and we must secure the entire island of Ireland in the EU together, including provisions to allow the North to seamlessly resume full status within the EU in the aftermath of a successful future unity referendum. This can be done. It can be done within the current constitutional arrangements. The Good Friday Agreement, the political institutions, the human rights guarantees, the all-island bodies, and the constitutional and legal right of the people to exercise their right to self-determination and a united Ireland through consent must be protected and must be respected. I am not arguing that we try to reform unionism to fit our own Republican ideals, because that frankly isn't going to happen. However, political unionism seems to view the process of change from a position of, if nationalists want it, even if it will better the lives of all people, then it is nevertheless a bad thing for unionism. And Brexit is a case in point. But I am confident that as the economic consequences of Brexit become clearer and hit home, more and more people from a unionist background will be open to at least exploring new scenarios, new relationships on this island, relationships which do not threaten their Britishness. Republicanism and unionism must reach a sustainable compromise through respectful dialogue premised on anti-sectarianism that will move us beyond the impasse of the present and bring us into a brighter future. To achieve that, we must explore how we can accommodate each other's aspirations in a manner that does not demand the surrender of cultural or traditional identity. We believe that Irish unity on the basis of equality offers the best future for everybody on this island. Therefore, it is my responsibility, our responsibility, to spell out to unionists what sort of united Ireland we as Republicans seek, and to assure them of their place in an Ireland of equals. Because one thing is for certain, the political landscape is starting to dramatically change, and the onus is on us to shape that change by organising and intelligently making the case for Irish unity and for a referendum as set out in the Good Friday Agreement. The Good Friday Agreement provides a peaceful, democratic path to Irish unity. Sinn Féin believes there should be a referendum on Irish unity within the next 5 years. I believe that now is the time to plan that new, agreed and united Ireland, a progressive, a prosperous and an inclusive Ireland, one in which all identities and traditions have a place and the opportunity to contribute to our shared nation, unionists and nationalists together. New accommodations and political arrangements could serve to transcend old communal, cultural and sectarian battles and give us an opportunity to look again at a future beyond sectarianism, beyond partition and beyond suspicion. There is an onus and a responsibility on Republicans and all United Irelanders to persuade others and to win the battle for hearts and minds to the merits of reunification. And how do we set out how it's in the best longer-term interests of all. So it's not going to just happen. We have to advocate for it, we have to campaign for it, and we have to go out and win the debate for it. Those parties who claim to support a united Ireland should bring forward their ideas and their proposals on how they believe this objective can be achieved. It should also include the Irish diaspora. Any conversation about Irish reunification must involve that diaspora to reach out to it and to marshal its political strength in support of our goals. Sinn Féin does not own the debate on a united Ireland. It belongs to every single person who shares this island together. However, it is our primary objective, and we are clearly up for the debate because we're very confident in our vision. We're confident about the economic, social and political benefits that a new Ireland will bring. And I want to demonstrate the debate itself does not have to be divisive. It doesn't have to be rancorous. It can be mature, it can be rational and it can be respectful. It's time for us all to work together for our collective interests beyond the next election, and rather than invent political drawbacks, think our way through making far-reaching preparations for a shared future. The Irish Government has a clear responsibility in this regard, and it needs to bring forward a political plan to unite and reinvent the country in a modern era. The Government should publish a Green Paper on Irish unity, which identifies the steps and the measures that are for a successful transition to United Ireland. They should establish a joint Oireachtas Committee on Irish reunification with the task of outlining, driving and monitoring and reviewing the transition. Leo Varadkar should appoint an Irish Government Minister of State with the dedicated and specific responsibility of developing strategies to advance Irish unity and coordinating government's policies on an all-island basis. Comrades, if Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil won't do it, then we need to go out and put ourselves in government because we will do it. Gura míle maith.
Matt Carty, Member of the European Parliament for the Midlands North West. Akarja, this year's Ardèche sees us closer than ever to our historic goal of reuniting this country. As people witness the Brexit train coming into view, as they see the possible return of border checkpoints in our country, as they recall the decades of lectures on the needs for Republicans to recognise the so-called principle of consent, and as they see now the contradiction of the British government's refusal to respect the will of the majority of the North remaining in Europe, they see clearly once again the stark injustice of partition. People, North and South, have no intention of returning to the past. The political landscape has changed. The Unionist majority in the North is gone. A majority there now want a referendum on Irish unity. The largest bloc of young voters in the 6 counties support a united Ireland. There is no turning back the clock. And support for Irish unity will only increase as the implications of Brexit become clearer. If the North has changed, so too has the South. A whole generation has been politicised as a result of the economic crash and years of brutal austerity. Since partition, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil both turned their backs, as we know, on the people of the North. But they also both subjected working people in the South to inequality, economic failure and mass emigration. This state is not the republic envisaged by those who wrote the 1916 proclamation. The republic of justice, equality and fairness. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil created a narrow, insular state that served the interests of the economic elites and a golden circle of insiders. They handed control of our schools and hospitals to a conservative church hierarchy, and women, children, ordinary working people, the poor and the vulnerable paid a severe price for all of this. When the northern state began to fall apart under the weight of simple democratic demands, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil turned many of the institutions of this state into mere adjuncts of Britain's counter-insurgency policy. They corrupted sections of the Gardaí. Meanwhile, they built an economic model based on the begging bowl, tax avoidance for multinational corporations and the export of our young people. But increasingly, people of all ages across this state see through all the hypocrisy, all the cant, the lack of idealism or vision, and they're turning away from the Conservative parties. Sinn Féin has already broken the mould of the stale, corrupt and dishonest 2.5-party system, which has, up until this point, seen one rotten Fianna Fáil government being replaced by a rotten Fine Gael government implementing the same policies, only to be replaced again by another rotten Fianna Fáil government. Not anymore! That is why our opponents resent us so much. That is why they spend so much time attacking us. They know our fierce determination to bring about a real republic based on social justice and equality. In their many terms in government, neither Fianna Fáil nor Fine Gael did anything to advance Irish unity. But the growing strength of Sinn Féin, north and south, has brought a united Ireland closer than it ever has been. And now those who have often paid lip service in the past to the cause of Irish unity freeze like rabbits caught in headlights because it's actually achievable. Their response, Micheál Martin and Fianna Fáil tell us it's not the right time. What sort of political leadership is that? They want to leave it to the next generation to deliver a united Ireland, to forge a new egalitarian republic. Well, Micheál, you've already left the next generation with €64 billion in bank debt. Fianna Fáil have left enough for the next generation. This generation right now must be determined to bring about Irish unity, knowing as we do that it can create the opportunity to bring about the fundamental political, social and economic change Ireland so desperately needs. We have now a unique opportunity in the time ahead to build a new Ireland, an opportunity to build an equal society that serves the interests of all the people who share this island. Political leadership is required. Sinn Féin is in the business of nation building, of providing leadership. And history will judge harshly, I believe, those parties that fail to provide that leadership, that offer excuses about timing rather than seizing historic opportunities. Together, Akarja, we can build that new republic. Together, we can move towards a united Ireland. Arailin Lakaila, Goramila Maya Gubgaler.
Martina Anderson, Sinn Féin MEP, Patrick Pearse Comandura. The partition of Ireland was without doubt a catastrophe, and the DUP Tory Brexiteers are trying to do their best to reinforce it by sticking a harder border on our island. Now, I'm not going to elaborate on where hard and soft borders can be put. Sunshine got its fair bit of attention. Suffice to say that Sinn Féin will not tolerate partition being reinforced. We are, as Matt Carthy so rightly said, we are the generation that will end it. The DUP got a substantial number of hundreds of thousands of pounds from its alleged Saudi Arabia intelligence for Brexit. It's always about the money for that lot. But what we all know, what can be bought can be sold. So it'll take more than money. And Ireland, as we all know, is a very special place. So affording special status to Ireland within the EU is absolutely viable. I have the legal advice, independent legal advice here, that shows how designated special status for the North to remain in the EU is possible. In fact, it's not only possible, it's essential. And the work we Sinn Féin MEPs have done in the European Parliament has had a significant influence on how people understand Ireland and our peace and political processes. And that has had, without doubt, a real absolute impact on the Brexit negotiations. If Brexit is good for one thing, it has been that it has laid bare the hostility of the Tories and the DUP to human rights, citizens' rights, plus social and economic rights. It reveals the fundamental dishonesty of the British government, and it reveals how little that they care about Ireland. They don't give a damn. And the people across the EU are starting to get it. They get just how toxic the Tory-DUP alliance is. They get that Brexit is on a direct collision course with the Good Friday Agreement. And they get that the Good Friday Agreement, in all of its parts, which was what Sinn Féin got inserted into resolutions in the European Parliament, means much, much more than borders and institutions, important as they all are. It means no regression on rights, rights so despised by the DUP and by the British government. It means a common regulatory framework across the island, north and south. Fundamentally, it means that the North has to stay within the single market and the custom union. Of that, there is no doubt. Can you imagine, can any of us imagine, two different food standards operating across this island? For instance, could you imagine that the children of Derry would be subjected to a lower standard of food safety, but the children of Donegal would have a higher standard? That cannot be allowed to happen, and we are the generation that's going to ensure that it doesn't happen. The Good Friday Agreement is an international treaty. It was lodged at the United Nations, and it is binding in case the DUP and the British government forget that point, and there will be no dilution of it. There will be no alteration of it. There will be no regression of the protections that are built into it. Brexit has brought into sharp focus the contradictions of partition. So, to you, the people, who have voted for it, and for the generation, the younger generation, who want to see it upheld, it is up to you, as Mary Lou said, to stand with us and to defend the Good Friday Agreement in all of its parts. And that includes our right to decide what union we want to be a part of. Well, comrades, England's difficulties are Ireland's opportunities. Irish unity is achievable, Irish unity is deliverable, and Brexit shows us that Irish unity is inevitable. And for Martin McGuinness, we say, we will win. for the people and the towns that he loves so well. Domé Margaret Golair, thank you.
Piers Doherty, Doonanal. One. I encourage you, €1.50 a week for a worker earning €30,000. That sums up the extent of the vision that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have for our country. But I ask you, what good is $150 in your back pocket if you're one of the hundreds on hospital trolleys? What good is $150 if your car insurance has nearly doubled in the last year? What good is $150 if interest rates rise and with it your mortgage, or your rent or your childcare costs are taking over half your wages? Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael's vision is of an island of individuals, where each and every person has to shoulder their worries alone. But Sinn Féin has a very different vision for our economy and for our society. We will build an economy that serves ordinary people, a society where we are genuinely all in this together. And we have more than just the vision. We have the costed proposals, we have the leaders, and we have the determination to make that vision a reality. Unlike others, our vision for a prosperous economy doesn't stop at the border. And all of us who say we want a united Ireland must work for that united Ireland. And an all-party Oireachtas Committee on Irish Unity is the logical next step. So I ask Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin, what have you to fear from an Oireachtas Committee on Irish Unity? Join us and let us make that roadmap together. Because those of us who subscribe to the proclamation of the Republic must help shape the roadmap to Irish unity, including winning a border poll. And when we in Sinn Féin say that we want a republic that cherishes all of the children of the nation equally, we mean that. Har an rialta seo le cuidiú le Fianna Fáil, fiche 2,000 poiste go bachtanas, and ye galú le 7,000 a winta mahas. Chruhí siad an bachtanas seo le good policy. Agus ní go ddíra an bachtanas seo, ach tá géir céim a fásta a dthiíocht agus sláinte fásta. Agus seo tárí the Hudge policy and realtas. Ní chimpaiste é seo is a policy realtas é seo. We would make eradicating child poverty a priority because that is what you do in a real republic. A real republic of opportunity doesn't justify mass homeless or turn a crisis into a statistical debate. But let there be no doubt, there are opportunities in Leo's vision. There's the 20-year of opportunities for the banks to pay no taxes, as in the case of AIB and Permanent TSB and many more. There's indefinite opportunities for bankers to wreck the economy, to steal thousands from their customers and still walk away scot-free. The Mahan Tribunal, the Moriarty Tribunal, the banking crash, the tracker mortgage scandal, and all of the other scandals. Who's been held accountable? Nobody. Because in Leo's Republic of Opportunity, he doesn't do accountability, he does excuses. I urge you, Sinn Féin and government would put a programme of accountability at the heart of that government. There would be no more hiding places for the rogues of Irish society, whether they be politicians, bankers, developers, or other white-collar criminals. We would aggressively tackle tax evasion. We would legislate for class action suits. We would make it a crime to lie to the central bank, and we would hold individual bankers responsible for the crimes that they are committing against the Irish people. I am convinced that the Irish people will see through Leo's agenda. I believe the Irish people care about their health services, care about their neighbours and friends who are facing homelessness. And we can never allow the cold individualism of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil to win over in our society. Those of us who reject it must rage against it, must rage against the normalisation of mass homelessness, must rage against the destruction of our health services, must rage against the selling off of our cities to foreign capital and dodgy deals. because Sinn Féin says not in our country. So Akarja and those watching at home, join with us in the fight back. Let's seize this opportunity to build a real republic, to build a society which looks after every member in that republic, a prosperous economy for a better society, a republic where the rights of people are not subservient to the market. So let's go out there and show Leo and Michal what a real republic looks like. Array and Foblarth the Boo.
Louise O'Reilly, TD for the constituency of Dublin, Fingal, Bowland, Hartford, Cummin, Balbriggan. Akarja, the health service in the 26 counties is on its knees. Patients are suffering. Hundreds of thousands of our citizens are on waiting lists. The trolley count is off the chart. The workers are demoralised and privatisation by stealth is continuing. In the 6 counties, the impact of the Tory cutting agenda is being felt in our communities, both urban and rural. Those on the right want you to believe that there is no alternative, that the system is broken and that the only solution is privatisation. We know that there is an alternative to the 2-tier health service. We know that we can build a 32-county health service that delivers for patients. We want to see that health service. We want to see a health service that values its workers and cuts off the supply of state money to the private sector. It is clear that the disparity between the health services north and south for many in the north is a barrier to them supporting Irish unity as they see the NHS model being subsumed into the chaotic and shambolic southern healthcare system. Healthcare must be developed on an all-Ireland basis. We should move from increased cooperation to full integration of services on our island, maximising the healthcare benefits for all and achieving greater economies of scale. We are not talking about bolting one system onto another. We are talking about taking the best elements of both. What Sinn Féin want is an all-Ireland national health service, an Irish national health service that is free at the point of use, that is funded through general taxation and delivered by a combination of public sector and independent providers. An Irish National Health Service that provides healthcare to all of our citizens across the entire island based on need and not on ability to pay. We have developed our policy using evidence from international best practice. We do not pretend that this will be easy or simple, but let's be honest, neither is maintaining 2 health services on a small island like ours. Akarja, cooperation makes sense. Duplication simply wastes money. It is very simple. The border impedes our ability to deliver healthcare. Disease does not recognise artificial borders, and our health service should not do so either. Akarja, I have a very simple message for you. Onwards to victory, onwards to unity, and onwards to a 32-county national health service. For me, Michael.
Owen O'Brien, TD for Dublin Midwest, spokesperson on housing and a proud Irish Republican. What is it with Fine Gaelers and housing statistics? When it comes to bricks and mortar, they just can't seem to count. Simon Coveney delighted us in telling us that house completions were up to 15,000. The real number, of course, was half that. Pascal Donoghue thinks that Rebuilding Ireland is the largest investment in social housing in the history of the state. He clearly doesn't remember the 50s or the 70s or even the underwhelming noughties. And Owen Murphy seems to think that rising levels of adult and child homelessness can be spun as progress. In his Orwellian world, it seems that an increase is actually a decrease. And worst of all has been Leo Varadkar, the man apparently in charge. Does the Taoiseach really believe that €320,000 is an affordable price for a family home? Does he really believe that our levels of homelessness are low by international standards? Akarja and Leo Varadkar, if you're listening, tonight more than 3,000 children will sleep in emergency accommodation. How can anybody in Fine Gael believe that their housing plan is working? The housing and homelessness crisis was created by Fianna Fáil. It was made worse by 5 years of Fine Gael and Labour. But now, despite all the talk of recovery, secure and affordable homes continue to be out of the reach for tens of thousands of people. But Akarja, there are solutions. This crisis can be solved. Sinn Féin in government would double the investment in social housing. We would build more than 10,000 social houses every single year until this crisis is ended. Sinn Féin in government would also invest in real affordable homes so working people could rent or buy no matter what their income. Sinn Féin would get a grip on the homelessness crisis so that no child would be in emergency accommodation any longer than is absolutely necessary. And we would do all of this while ensuring the highest possible building standards and levels of energy efficiency. Every single person has a right to a home, and Sinn Féin in government would seek to put that right into our constitution and lead a government that would progressively realise that right, not just for the few, but for the many. Thank you, delegates.
John Finucane, Sinn Féin, North Belfast. There has arguably never before been a time so focused on the rights of all Irish citizens as now. All over the island of Ireland, Sinn Féin are at the forefront of shaping a new Ireland based on rights and respect. Sinn Féin champions the rights of the most vulnerable in society, and we do so proudly, without fear or favour. Nelson Mandela once spoke that to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. In the North, we continue to see this challenge to the very humanity he speaks about when we see the continued denial of language rights, of the right to truth for families bereaved through our conflict, most noticeably through state-sponsored violence, of the failure to implement the promised Bill of Rights, and of course through the continued denial of marriage equality. The world celebrated Australia supporting same-sex marriage in a referendum this week, and rightfully so. They joined an ever-increasing list of countries determined to show that when it comes to love, when it comes to marriage, then everyone is equal. Yet in the north of Ireland, the demand for marriage equality is shamefully dismissed as a political squabble by those who should know better and do know better. We say today that the right to marriage equality should not depend on where you live in this island, because it's as applicable if you live in Derry as it is in Dundalk, in Tyrone as it is in Tralee. For this is what a truly rights-based society should look like, and this is what Sinn Féin have been mandated to fight for. It is what we have always fought for. We will never accept that undeniable rights are merely privileges to be given and taken from those in need by those in power. For it is a setting in stone of legislation, the rights that benefit all in society, that will bring about a newer and fairer Ireland. And to finish by borrowing slightly from Robert Kennedy, it's not enough for us to look at the Ireland of today, to see the inequality and simply ask why. We must all highlight and show the change that is desperately needed and ask why not. This is how we will effect real change. This is how we will not only be on the right side of history, but we will be at the forefront in shaping and delivering a new and fair Ireland.
Taoiseach Ferris, Clifford McCarthy Common, Ardartha Cúnta Curie, ag Tusnú, the Tachtar Gra, on RDS, Gudi Castlebar, to the people we affectionately know as Mother and Father. Anne and Tommy, your absence in the hall today is noted, and we're sending you our very best wishes in this difficult time. I was going to speak about the principles of the Republic of Leo, but I actually don't need to tell you that a fair chance and opportunity for every part of this country to share in the so-called recovery still means that in my fine county, the Kingdom, we trail behind. I was going to tell you that investment in our public transport system in Kerry means that an elderly constituent from Carsaveen had the opportunity to use half of his weekly pension to pay for a taxi ride to make a medical appointment at Tralee Hospital. Or that the lack of proper public transport means that young people in my constituency, even if they can find meaningful employment, will be relegated to dole queues as they won't be able to make it to their place of work. I don't have to tell you that in the Republic of Leo, what is perceived as being the best that ordinary people can achieve is much less than what is expected for those lucky enough to be born into wealth. I don't have to tell you that it continues to be a republic of misfortune for those caring for persons with complex needs 24/7, as they cannot find or give less than a couple of hours of respite care to them in the year. I don't need to tell you any of this because Matt Carty already borrowed my speech, but you already know it. You live in the so-called republic. Instead, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to appeal to the ordinary people of Ireland watching us here in the RDS. People who prove every single day by their actions that they are inherently decent. Those who give their time and energy to community and voluntary organisations. Who look after their vulnerable neighbours. Who contribute as generously as they can to good causes. And those who put an extra sandwich in their child's lunchbox to share with their classmate who sometimes comes to school without one. To those people, I want to say, your decency and humanity prove to me that the unfairness perpetrated by the Republic of Leo and the republics of Enda, Bryan and Bertie before it does not represent your values. Our country, our fine country, has the potential to be great, to be prosperous yet fair, that we want and all deserve. So please, to the people watching at home, please do not give another chance to those who continue to disregard our communities. Give a Sinn Féin government the chance to deliver real opportunities for all. Give us a chance to deliver a real republic that we all deserve and we need. Gurv Mila Mila Mahagav.
Chris Hazard, abstentionist MP, Andun Haas. Akarja, in the midst of the conflict, the British security and intelligence agencies, particularly under the direction of the then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, designed an accountability gap which allowed collusion to become a systematic feature of British security policy in Ireland. This absence of rules was the actual policy of collusion, in which an absence of guidelines and accountability facilitated the murderous policy objective of collusion. For years, the British government and their security agencies have attempted to wash their hands of this murky past, as they shift the blame onto a growing pile of bad apples, all the time using the accountability gap to avoid facing up to the fact that collusion was no accident or no rogue agent. It was a policy planned and directed with full political authority. But the accountability gap is closing. In recent months, there has been a number of hugely significant judgments where the judiciary have roundly criticised the PSNI and the British security forces for not facilitating effective, prompt and independent investigations into state collusion, such as the Glenanne case recently. In this particular landmark case, the court not only ruled that the failure to investigate was unlawful, but Justice Tracy set out the rationale for an overarching investigation into the suspected state collusion in the killing of more than 100 people. The judiciary have also exposed the PSNI's disclosure policy, involving a systematic strategy of delay in disclosing information to families and a ridiculous fixation with redaction of documents. As noted in many of these findings, the British government now lack an Article 2 compliant legacy mechanism, and they are actively withholding critical funding in order to resource both the Lord Chief Justice and the Police Ombudsman's legacy offices. This, of course, is no accident. The British know that truth recovery is the last battle they will ever fight in Ireland, a battle they hope that will be made easier by a national security veto and removing themselves from the reach of the European Court of Human Rights as a convenient consequence of Brexit. But Brexit will not save Britain from the due process of law, for truth, justice and accountability. The British government cannot be trusted with a national security veto. The British state was a protagonist in the conflict, not an impartial referee. The recently released documentary, No Stone Unturned, which reveals the truly shocking levels of collusion in the Loughlin Island massacre in 1994, is a clear example as to why the British government cannot be permitted to benefit from a national security veto. Bearing in mind the fact that they don't benefit from such a veto in respect of Police Ombudsman's investigations, we have to ask the question, what would Michael Maguire's report into the Loughlin Island massacre have looked like if the British Secretary of State had final sign-off of that report? The current focus on a national security veto is all about maintaining the accountability gap, about hiding the truth. But as we've seen over the last number of months, the truth will out, as the jigsaw of state murder, of state collusion, emerges piece by piece. We owe it to all the mothers, to the fathers, the brothers and the sisters who've been lied to for decades. It's time for truth. It's time for justice. Goramila Miogov.
Harja, Kirmagala Vain and Dram Jarrig. While I'm away, has a goal of O'Cree. While I'm away, has a goal of O'Cree, as Octon Jess, if I live in you, La Cass or Son, Carta, Corhamasus Core, the football the Gilligo Hui, a Curraware Laher. And Fa will me and Shaw live in you, because in Tain Fa Fuck, Namarial, or Fuctus, and Dram Jarrig. Nearly an Iris, Garo, August Gowil, and Fuctus Shaw, are an actus Esplodry, is Cookty, August is in Ran Farchi, the Wakamidu Hui, La Fada, Fada and La. Lurie say doing. Lurie say doing, Arist, go will cook dogging, Gahariha dogging yoga, a glax shalaver and actus shaw, Gerfeder law, and doing harter hu ahru, August will sohi, August doing nu in Winchamak. Tagging and tell of the Nak Gilliga, Jirak on our Stridana, on our Skullana, on our Dismahori, August on our Nini Yoga. Tampubal Gilliga, and ye, and Kea Shaw of Ruyas Shack, a lar and G's curse of Politual. August Bavian Len Gavani Shin, Gajigo Ak Gilliga Bunchamak, Ak the Tanyos Black, August Cart Moneyha.
Carja Jordan Lingaminnig, Guamagic Polichu Kesnigilig, Trivek Faknasiak, August Agalu, Argyart. Marisol doing, Afak, as Kes Follow-Chuli Kesnigiliga, Lesna Keta Blaine, August E. Marfrio Sprick, Untiha, Culterha, Lilin Goal, August Colonu, Naheran. Danyon, Tan the Nuntiha Culter Shin Foss Lina Carja, August a known and will may do a chat or Cursi Publiahas, August an A. Dullingta, ni more doing ya, Carta Minley, a Hussinch. Is Dini at Country Gilliga, August Pacor, August has a digital aggrave play law, Le Mas, August the Corhamus. Shasson Pubble the Gilliga, and Yeden, and the Bigajahas, and Yeden and Undullingcha, August and Yeden and Nua, August Eliamud Sohi, Atanis and Kimsihi, Nis Foresi, August Nis Abbey, Tree Hilla. Daniel our Garda Elif, Casillier Glorak, Hap or James Lane, the name in his Corin to Cookta, the Carta Shaw went to Mac. Then a Carta Shaw a nice. Agree Lar and G-Spurs Apollo, August Curry or Norchus were core and you, Marial or our Vaktas Jarek. The Tagiak Tras Fartiogin, August Tagiak Lahan Publiogin, correct our Nelev, the Nationantiha, August Corlian of Hjorpa. Tis Jess Starl on and cast Hyan Money Shaw or Rechak was occur in a chart, August need more doing and Jess and a happy of Harja. Nis Agnium Goal, Urisorian to Chorman, that will leave fact that was better. While I'm in point to show Yana Gahin Taxillier, I want to make the next point very clear, particularly to the journalists in the room. It is a continued denial of language rights by the DUP, which is the main obstacle to restoring Stormont, not the assertion of those rights. The DUP have elevated exclusion of Irish speakers over an executive for all. And like our community, the fundamental questions we have raised of the state aren't going anywhere. The genie is out of the bottle. There's been a fundamental shift in political consciousness over the past year. While Dini Arihan to DUP, Gul Shear, Gadiam, Nakruan Gillig, Lefakal, Nala Clinton, O'Hui, Akbemis Unrik, Akbemis Intak Siller, Fuya Karja, Telehenda, and Oli Kalcha Hart. August Nemajagal or Ice Hockey. Cousins Slahak, August status key the earring, in a kinchu not Gaiterland, Mar Hirni, Dundarna Grada Hillu. Next to Captaina, Onactus Jarag, doing her fad, August the Gak Party, August Sinn Féin, and a mask, August need more doing her fad, Fulham, on a Mancogi at the Janta. Bugna Plano Hen, into Clar Realtus, a Screw and Gillick, a Mahas and Sahi, August Harlashaw, and Annuan, Unsi Hilananaha, O Ari and DUP, of the Jiriha or Clar, Sunrak, Shaktak Sagu. It's into Kohak Sin, a Hossi and Dram Jargiga Hagri, August like Faknasiak, Le Chaktarak, a Tajanta, a Restalaga Sillier, August will Tagiak Lahan Undi. Say sin that there can be no government, no settlement, and no new political arrangement that facilitates the exclusion and discrimination of Irish speakers. As a in Kurt Wonosak, a type Pubble Nagiligat, Naga Blater Law, the Mass, Corhamus, August Ginich, and our Gier Hien, August Shin and Scrudu litmus than process politua. This question is the political litmus test for the political process in the north at the minute. August Scrudu nak more a hurry, Matamaton and Sahi, Ella Golak, August Boone, I may our boys to Giri Kerfuhu on a crew. A seal tree gilliga to win a carta, ni Joniak, the privileged specialty, ak and chart of a bia, Le Mas, and a Ray Changa. To Glusak Enul, Ho Heights of Forberhead Pub on the Gilliga, at the Tumanda Hunganyan Fee Bart, Durar Breher, ni Kaiferlin, Marcirni, Dundara Grada Hillu, ni Anhimage or Nimmel, ni Smo, Eslinia and Tehi, Octanish, Gurmwagif.
Waihu Kieran McGillivan, Manskull first year Abu. Shanador Nalo Donanya, try Yarbal first year her. A comrade, the couple of Blaine and us, Honnigas and Brew, or Fager, the Pubble Nigil Takta, August Pubble Nigiliga Arian, a Kararuderish, August Realtis, Hon Carta a Elf. Tan Brew Shaw Cooktak, Spragul, August Efaktak. Le Blaine the Bugger and us is saying Tiso, August Miniga, Hon Kin, Snafakti Shaw. August Factor Shaws, the more Hulana, Dahula, Biower, Avian, Ernest Ridesna. It's Kevin Lynn a leg, the Kruggle Wara, Rinch Wayaku Sahala Shaw and you, a wool and boher, a couple of Miohin, August Jarag Lafarag, Marial or Vasla, Arlene Foster, a light in the Changa, August Lucked Alorha. O Hussey and Gar Cairn Fullitiactus na Shea Conde, Amshire Nullag na Blaine Shikacha, is a pobble na Gaelige, Aid Hen, a Hanik Likela, Ogus a Hassan Fode, or son Carta, Luck Lorha na Gaelige. Be Miss Kinchia for sure. Lower and pobble less na Party Polychula, Ogus Barry Hillier and Chapteract of Iaku. The Carta de Ye Marwanus Lichian Co Rechak Nua. Kaime Rag or Has me Hen, Mar a Hashiva Leg, or Harsak na Gate the Cha, the Lin the Dehan and Lena. Agus ag Moorcudge, Durilum, and Fód a Hasu, Majer le Hack na Gaelige, Eanarak a Winchamak. By a shin, pobble na Gaelige a rag a Jirak le Polichor, Shasu fui leiha glaku, Majer leshin Gaelige, Agus Gan Gaelu. Ni Shaw hin fianna wine, Ni Shaw shin, Shasu hin fianna wine. Ak tame brodol a ra, Shasu fosta, na milcha dini. Idir og agus éasta, Fer agus mra, Gaelgary agus burlery fosta. Dini at chomanta, Tehi Kuananak agus Masul a Winchamak or son cha. Shin ar gospur a carja, Ni baggage de Anya e ak na Gaelige. Tamisha brodol a carja, Brodol as na Gael, Na Kionrodiha, agus an T-sure, Eid shoot Galer, Neil wine at Jarag la Farag, Agatan this Mosculcha dun Kushaw. A Creelar and Factis Spragul, son Kuananas, dun Gaelige, Ta Darnoya, and Gaeligihis. August we cannot see act Sinn Féin, Ta Meru Santasak Taka, Erin and Asiak, August Orbridge and Arniel Shaw. Tam Brodol Garon Jesh Ogum, Ejihis Trivan the Gaelige Isle, August we Shin, Jesh Ogum, Sleevaha, a Winchamak, a Ta Gaelige, Larnak D. About first year, August our Fud in the Shea Conde, Tan a Sludgigini Yoga, Eg Tosnu, August Eg Creeknu, Ejihis Saku Trivan the Gaelige. Craig and Sinn Féin Gajian go will fast August Forbridge and Arniel Shaw in the Tawaktak at the fast August Forbridge Fosta in Usage Nachanga in Ra Seal and Siranak. August is Sirani Mudge, Sirani Eranaha, Sirani a will a dual lesh, August a Digil, Nakarta Canon Kina is a Taik Ahan Siranak Ella, Fudfad Nachira. Killian Shin, Karta Changa. Jaran Realtis Nashe Condi as Fiha go will she Lins a Trid Shaw. The Fragrak Aku, Erlay, Marialer Shin. Agus Fragrak Daku an Oda Hasu Linya son ar Cudge Gart. Is the Gak Dinya and Gaelige. Ni Baggage Arian Dinya E. Kaifer Massive on the Kumwai. Is a Gak Kulra a Hagan Kainturi Gaelige, August Tashi do Deutsche, Les an Aspa Massa a Light na Gaelige. Hog Realtis na Bratanya commitment you go into Kilreeving this morning, James Leanohan. Hog she commitments go Rakto for Ak na Gaelige. Taharik Chep or who and Coentu Shin a Colinu o Henalai. But Kiart act Gaelige veon, act a Hassi, Les Hen, August act a Tafuntak. Tashianam, Kiart the Changa, Araktu, August Jarku Korum, August Kimshiak, a Kahu, or son Gaelige. Chasti and Wuinye, Margale, Sahi a Wallen, August a Hakian, La Forbridge Culterha, August Haig Solak, Chang Oliact, Sahi and a Will, Raktiact, August Kosanchi, Evaim, Nak Lakey, then DUP, August a Leheji, Masla, August Jiva, Scanalaha, a Yanu, Gani Erwich. Morocco Skur, August May Jarag Lefarag, Takarta Wuinya a Carja, Maradurch, Kieran, Seal Tri Gaelige a Ta Wuinya, Le Sinn Féin, Begi Kincha, Gamena Kiarti Shin, August and Seal Shin, Ogin, Garamayov.
Megan Fern, Colta Channel Donyar, Ardwaha. Bawailam Cogargis, a goal le Carol Killen as Leifa. Ví sprek míle fólag mé ag Leifa, nuair cur Carol ar bonne, a rás a yabélas a héndig. Winnins game and sprek sin amach, curve Lyrock, agus curry leis and sprek, a réis agus a réis ela. Tafiha míle dinne anish, nynye shinu suas de Leifa. Larry and Shea goil and suam sa Gaelic ag fask a mask and fubble. Hossi mayor Leifa couple of blino hin, agus tam ag folum gafoil. Tame Intak Brojul Garas Arwak a Hasme, Goel Sport agus an Culture Gaelach, Intak Tawak de Junior, is Shea and Glea Huggin le Kela Shin. Viu Ardwak a Has agus Contelu in a Ganter Gael Takta. Tan Gaelic Heart Uring, a Hanach Nalag Anyam Naha, agus a Gainch Nanini. Tadini ag Folum the Gaelic Fud Fad and Ellen, O Gura go Corky, O Galia of Gobalia Clea, Nit Jaikin a Miladini,
I gomman pella in onit phobal, agus hart ar tabli. Támuid le buíoch as a cud obre agus a cud éireachtaí ar fad. Tagan siad táhaach na teanga don phobal, agus tas agin a lig gur tír gan anam, tír gan teanga. Tá daoine ag obair go cruaí leis an teanga a cíbhnú agus a chur chun cin. Ba aitheann is ifigúil don Gaeilge go hui ina cudú mór ag na héireachtaí sin. Ní bagart í an Gaeilge, is le gach duine an teanga. Tá Sinn Féin ag seasaí do cearta an phobal ar fad. Is fiú troidir son na garta seo, carta na níl, carta na man, carta an winter LGBT, agus carta na glán atá ag fannacht ar costí crónéir le blianta fada. Ba bhí an lom na carta céarna hui agus atá ag siarní sa cud seo tíre. Ní féidir dúiltú don catharmas, ní mór dúin in Gaeilge agus ar bhéinilacht a cíbhnú. Tá daoine ag Lord Gaeilge ar an Ilan seo, cur bheith le blian, agus Jimmer sí páirt mór in our star. Is rud luach raí an Gaeilge, is cud dar neirachtaí. Ba bhhail in más agus gohainanis, dar deanga, dar gulture agus dar bubble, agus ní bheith mid ag stoppa go dtí go mhuine mid amach. Tá mid ré chun troda. Mar sin na carde, cibhnaí ar jarrod, na crugga le bú agus achtanis.
sé Martin ó Millior Belfirste. Ahas orm a bheith lever Martin in ye, bhí me in Boston, thug me in Boston Globe and céad lehanach bhí scéal on bilingual education advances in Massachusetts. Híl me grow an drám deargan sin Rome. Ach cibhní ar sin, tá sé a ceiliúrú idéas ga hangach in Massachusetts. Agus ó hui, nuair a bhí aire ón DUP and aire idéis an céad rud ar inse na ionsaí a dheanú ar Gael sculna agus ar an idéas Gaeilge. So in Massachusetts they're celebrating bilingual education in the north. The DUP education minister waged a campaign against Irish language education. Ar Margin, bhí me san Ísland agus gacáid ar ort me, bhí cuairtheach ga hangach on. Agus ma éistin tú leis an méid a dúirt an DUP agus éad a gúach dúirt go méid bank freiste na féidir éic as cuairtheach ga hangach. Ach tan déanra céan ag an Ísland agus tá Belfirste a bheith nóhar agus tá da hangaíon. Tá ar a géirí mar sin den na sé chundaí an aitis lú cearta de dara teangatha, de bhin teangatha, de hangatha neor lachana a dheanú. Ach ní iarithí leo. Iarithí leis an réabhlóid glóitse teangaí seo a bhfuilmuid ina bhain. Agus ba cóir nniu, tréslú lá siúd ar an talú a tá tiomant na réabhlóide sin chun tosaí. Agus chuirmuid animorthú. College de firste, mel firste, sé céad nátha páiste, iad le a fólam leo, a sabrú na Gaeilge, réabhlóide go a réan sin, is bhí me an teachtain seo le Hurry Shore ó New York Times, agus nar hanig muid a maithas, dúirt mé leis ní féidir sin a stopú, ní féidir an réabhlóid glóite seo a stopú. So the College de firste bully bus. Na Janamish Jarma the Gundanal, Edges Gale, and Yeskert Gundanal, Revloj Tangi and Sinner or Bun, the Troha Blaine, Vulture of Gactinia, Gahru go Humlan, Aknamiakus Gallagher, Jeskert Gundanal, so Edges Gale of Slimo Kenyagain. Agus an sin an tógra Gaeilge a saintí in sa tíir seo na Cultarlán I Canain and Nira, Aicha Hogue, Loch na Gaeilge in sa cahar sin, Cree Lar, Prio Cahar an ceol tradition in sa tíir seo, agus iarachtaí iontachar bonach a níis leis an taismint is a smó a winnan leis an Gorta Mór a Hortus Merica Gedera agus gan muntir gura agus a seaswach bheimish hís leis. Mar sin dá iarachí leis an réabhlóid glóite teangaí seo. So do Cultarlán I Canan fásta agus an iarachtaí agus an naiscí bully bus. Ach, haar éon ní eile na daoine ága sin a tháinig muid ar na sráidena ar na báithre a gagóidíocht an drám dearg bí mis buíoch ar a son agus seasamid leo deanamid an gaisce céanna atá siad na dhéanú ahan lá ar son na Gaeilge gur a céad maithre.
Donna Colera, Common Trillock Maxivna, Joe Murphy, Corkig. Cade stoid an Gaelin satir Salat Hanovan. On which she law of Yoken Suntasuk, no RT boss. If Irna taught either over Docus, August over him knee. Mahogamid in Den Arif is Dani. Tá méid Gael Gori Numlan, Trish Titum, den Cador, le Bresh is Fiheblian, August Naira an Realtis, a tá Trish, Ligant to Shin Titum amach. Tá méid Gael Gori sa Gaeltucht, Tubber and Changalora, a Titum Blian and Ig Blian. Tá Galorim Neon Freshen, for an over Kaidan na over Idi. Ern Tevella, Tá glór over Docus on food na tíre freisin. Tá glúiseach sa túisgurt ag éileh a cuid cearta, agus an glúiseach sin I bhfad níos lethne ná pártaí politiúla, déanta sús de mac léin, cumanteanga, cultúrtha agus sport, agréachtaí pobl agus scoilne, iad darag le fagach agus iad spragúil lán de túramí agus sólaíocht. I glóirslite is fada ó bhíon Gaeilge cóimsirthe. De bhar an oberúntach atá á déanamh glór dínas de man, níomháin TG Cahar agus radio na Gaeltachta, a cólachtaí déanamh scanán, agus léireóirí agus na halíonn. Ní éad fiúránis go bhfuil pobl na Gaeilge sean aisinta grúama nó le dránach ar churbe. Tá íomhá na teanga atá os cór an domhan anna dearfach agus bríomhar. Is tín óga ach a háirithe, I lár grúpaí ar nós na Gael óga, agus Gael Góri, agus Léacre Loch Lé, agus Rérá, fud na tíre, atá léirú ceannaracht agus ag crothú deis na cainte, idir sport, filíocht, scéalaíocht, ceol agus crack. Is a measc an ábhar dóchas ceann dus na réiteach dus na ábhar imní. Bahan teanga I labhart, agus is ag crothú deis na cainte atá tócaí na teanga, ach a háirithe in Carracha agus in Baltimora. Tá go leor daoine le Gaeilge nach bhfuil an deisico éúsáid. Caithfidh an stáit níos mó dhéanamh leis na deisna seo a thuairta daoine. Cuirfidh Sinn Féin níos dó muoinú ar fáil agus planana ar bun chun ag deisna seo a bhéadú agus feiceálacht an Gaelin a bhéadú. Cáimid freisin takeú le daoine atá ag obair go díograisteach sna Gaeltachtaí. Tá úlach fásach oibre curtha ar na daoine céine le roinnt blianta nuas. Idir planáilteanga, forbar pobl agus a meascra díile. Caithfar úlach an obair sin a roinnt idir breis daoine. Agus níos mó Gaeilge daoine a fostú in airnáil na Gaeilge agus na Gaeltachtaí. Agus takeíonn Sinn Féin le seo, agus takeíimiid leis an bart atá multa ag conar na Gaeilge chun níos mó daoine a chur ag obair san airnáil. Agus go bhhéitaimís a Gaelin a chur chun cín le inéistú in our Carracha faoin tua agus is the Gaeltachtaí. Gur míle maith.
Mairead Farrell Galia. Tugann chuile hanga dearcar fi leadún an tochaí mór himpeláirín. Tugann se focla agus nachnaí canse éagsla dún, chumuid hain agus ar goltar chur nual. Tugann an Gaeilge tuiscint leagh dún, stair, cultar agus tíreolalas na hÉireann. Is as Galia mé. Conde in bhfuil ceann de na Gaeltachtaí is ládra agus is mú sa tír, mar aon le cathair gáthangach efigiúil. Ach cén cinál todhchaí atá an do na Gaeltachtaí agus don Gaeilge, mátá ar an géad glún eile dul ar Imirce, go London, Canada agus go Austrál. Tasí an sochaí wen, ina bhfuil ardjanga náisiúnta mar is ag an rialtas. Go mo chuileganna inán a síl a hógáil trí bheán na Gaeilge. Is cum a cén áit bhfuil tú sa tír. Go mo sé de cheartad, de éideachas, de am sóisialta agus de osiocht a dhéana trí Gaeilge. Tasíonn ach na Gaeilge láithreachs na sé condé agus tasíonn in éisteach cuí san airnáil Gaeilge na sé condé is fithe. Tá ar leid 1.9 milliún duine sa tír seo a déir go bhfuil Gaeilge acu, agus híolá faoi láthair go bhfuil daoine óga ag chur sim san Gaeilge níos mú ná riamh. Ach níor mhór dún tógáil ar an dea heil sin.
Tá sé an am do na rialtais, thuas has, polisíthe radachacha a thuirteisteach chun éascaocht a dhéine don glún seo, an ghaige níosteach, snerid spásnaí peibli agus príomháideacha agus is féidir, sa scoil, sa teach, an borg sport, sa nonad pobl, sa glob sóisialta agus a héile nach iad. Dúirt an poblachtánacht agus gníomhí pobl de mo chun de hain, Máirtín Ó Cadhain, gurbí an ghaige agháil na hÉireann, agus gurbí agháil na hÉireann slánú na ghaige. Mar chuid de chlár poblachtánacht in éon rialtas amach an seo. Is gá gníanaí polisíthe réabhlóideacha teanga a thuirteisteach, leis an ghaige a chur ar aon chéim leis an méarla. Bí míis in an ag an dúchláin sin. Gur maigi.
Carol Nolan, Teachta Dála de Uválaí agus Tipperdáir an Hui. Sanasta an machine dún varú, a scríb an Idicasor agus an Phoblachtánacht Pádraig Mac Piarais, Canú an Chóras Idicas a bhí ag an tam sin faoi teannachar na Maireachtaine. Mar sa chóras sin bhí an Gaeilge curtha faoi cois. Ach, nuair a eicimid ar Chóras Idicas faoi láthair, tá compráid fós ann, tá an Gaeilge fós faoi cois. I 2011, dáilte gan Ryan Idicas an stratéis le téirtheacht agus I bhéartheacht, agus cuir Fine Gael agus páirtí an Lucht Daimhre I bhaim I ngach scoil sa 26 chundé. Tá sé soléir sa stratéis sin, nach bhfuil Gaeilge ar chócéim le béarla agus le mata agus ábhar eile sna scolanna. Mar chuirtar Ilací ar múntóirí atá ag múna I ngná scolanna béarla agus scolanna monscolanna. Chuirtar Ilací orthú níos mó am a chathamh ag múna béarla agus mata seachas an Gaeilge. Níl Gaeilge ar chócéim. De bharr sin tá páistí ag cailú amach. Chun an deis chun caighdeáin ard a bhaint amach sa Gaeilge. Go háirithe na páistí a ágan na monscolanna agus a chosaína Idicas dara le bhéal, bíonn na páistí sin ar bhí bhuntáist mór. Tá féidireacht láidir ann go ndéanfaí an stratéis seo an dochar don teanga Gaelach, agus de Idicas páistí sa stát seo. Tá páistí curtha ar bhí bhuntáist, Teis gnar fuair siad an méid am chun an Gaeilge a ólam is a fuair siad ag fólam béarla agus mata agus ábhar mar sin. Credim mar iarmhúntóir, mar Gaeilgeoir, agus mar Phoblachtánacht nach bhfuil sé seo ceart nó cóir. Ba cóir go mbeadh Gaeilge curtha ar leibhéal chothram le chuile ábhar sna scolanna. Agus, ba chóir go mbeadh Gaeilge Tom Idicas ag gach uile le bhéal sa Chóras Idicas ar fud an Oileán seo. Credimid I Sinn Féin go bhfuil buntáistí faoi le ag buint le Tom Idicas. Tom Idicas páirteach a bheith ar fáil de gach uile fáiste sa bhunscoil. Agus ba chóir go múntar gá ábhar sa bhreis tríd an Gaeilge sna monscolanna fósta. Tá fís láidir a going I Sinn Féin, madidir le farbart ar deanga dúchais náisiúnta. Ach, tá dúlgas a going go léir mar Phoblachtánaí, ar deanga dúchas a chosint agus a chur chun cín. Mar a dúirt Pádraig Mac Piarais, tír gan teanga, tír gan anam, gur maithigh.
Líanaí riada feisir Parliament na Hórpa ó Yas agus Balda. Balda Tom Barry agus Cumann Leo Murphy agus ag takeú go láidir leis an drám darag. A cháirde tá fés a hochtaigh animathe mar blian na Gaeilge, agus cé bhfuil sé déanach le blian na meachtaí fleanáil, tá an buíoch go minic pobl na Gael fud na tíre lán tarifa as an blian speisialta seo, agus go ninimiid ar danga agus ar nairachtangan a cheúra le bród. Is ceart go bhain an Gaeilge an tahananta seo a meascan phobal, ngach cuid gan ar Nilán, ó chúil rahín go cúlé agus ó rún fádraig go rún chuin. Tá sé táta chomá an na hanítar an Gaeilge go hiidir náisiúnta. Is candas na rudaí is sanúla faoi chultúr agus náisiúnaí teanga na tíre sin. Agus is fíor sin an éiring, agus is fíor chomátha díre eile atá a tréad ar son an Saoirse, an Catalón san áibh tacaimí seo go láidir a cháirde. Is teanga ibre ofigiúil an Aontas Eorpachaí an Gaeilge, agus cé go bhfuil feabhas fós le tacht ar leibhéal na seirbhíse an Gaeilge, tá dulcham cín a dhéanamh ar bhán anúnach. Duine an méid seo níos náireach a ríise, go bhfuil níos mó chur a gcuine a dhéobh aitheantas agus choirmaíocht dar danga an sochanéiring ná tá measc buid stáit agus mar lethas na hórpa. In éag dóibh míú a dhéobh na Gaeilge is scriosa, blian in éag blian. Tá réaltas ina Gael cosú le réaltas na Breatanis treis bheith ag rálaíocht agus ag snagaíocht agus ag legant don DUP loice ar cóan tú maidir leis an Gaeilge. Seasan Sinn Féin le pobl na Gaeilge, níor géalamar ar gartatanga nó ar goharmar star danga. Agus cemádam iad oring ag seasamh an fóil le pobl na Gaeilge ó thuaig agus ó heas. Ach a cháirde, tá teangacha eile ó thuachas a going sa tír seo, agus ba bhailim cupta focail garad a rá maiálar. Sé sin an teanga cóthaíochta na hÉireann nó Irish Sign Language. Agus tá sé thara ama aitheantas iomlán a thuairt an teanga seo, agus don pobl a úsáidní mar mócha marsáide, agus mar chórtha mórtas pobl. A cháirde lenar ganasíocht agus lenar nígrasacht, chuirmid carta teanga agus severas ar néagsúlacht chun cín. Beg ar lágaing an poblach de bú.
Well, I hear you, Cháirde, Trevor O'Clougherty, Creevwartini Hain, Connemara Haas. Nish, tá Gaeilge Leo Fauci. Ach ní verin cantul múnawaile a hishi. Is beg a vís a mushid don Gaeilge. Ní gá planaltanga a dhéana ar an gáinchuid. Dámach ard ar ceartatanga, seachas ar cumarsáid chostasach agus stocaí snástad a Leo, ní gá gamach cosan na Gaeilge nite. Bheach neartán don strateis, na hagris, agus le beartas nú Gaeilge a thuirt chun cín ar fud na cruinne. Agus a Jova Q, tá sé thar matsa an fuipa ebrú ag bord an réaltais. Jabani, Bódi Carta, agus choras cumarsáide atá waint san Gaeltacht. Bháin a fianna fáilmúid, agus an túdarás, agus tá réaltas aris, rá má, ceall acmhainní agus dígras. Ní féidir fianna fáil, ná fianna Gael a throst leis an Gaeilge. Sna sé chundé bhna Sinn Féin ionad chaltúra, Gael scalaní, cistí creaaltáireachta, inéistíochta agus an clár lífa. Rinne muide beart de réir bríthir. Léirín an drám dearag go bhfuil neart sna pobl. Seasan Sinn Féin leis a bobbal, son ach teanga ó thua. Caithe na réaltas áfach seasa linn chun na galantí teanga a tugadh le scór bliana nuas a éire. Agus a phobal na Gaeilge, má tá airú ar fallasaí teanga webse, caithe sibse vótáil dúine. Is an vóta de Sinn Féin agus vóta don Gaeilge. Agus ar a lá seo ná déanach mu dearmad ar siránaí na hÉireann thar lear, a Jime, a díbríomh, agus a déile ón déine. This government talks about bringing our nurses, our tradespeople and others back home, whilst leaving barriers in their way which render this nigh on impossible. They get screwed by the insurance companies, the banks and universities, and they struggle with housing, education and more. Céad míle fáilte Mahún. No wonder this government are stalling on voting rights, because they know that they'll get the kicks a tune that they deserve. It's strange, very strange how some governments fear democracy. And our solidarity goes out today to the people of Catalonia, denied their right to self-determination, denied their right to civic, democratic and having their human rights abused and denied. Shame on the EU leaders, including our Taoiseach, who turn a blind eye to it all. Visha Catalonia! Seasan Sinn Féin, son Carta, son Saoirse, son Poblach Corum. Seasan muid le pobl eile idirnáisiúnta a bhfuil níos céanna acab. Leanamid gan strachelt agus tuki our law. Go míle magu.
Orla Nickburna and Corleor Soiga and Yaran. Is rud aontacha an Euslis Polachil, agus rud a tabal a chacht agus a macht. Nor an changa boss, nil sé firsta I agol. Crejim good Jean, nor Federlin, or Janga, a her hunkin, agus a Orbert, a jeer and a Wilchoran. Harna Blinta, Dullin and Pubble Gilach, o Unsiha Lachella, a Glawa Intactori. Ní he, gwil me jarg lefarig, mar horrid in a hactri shaw, ac ag yn iau arch, agus yn G fas, a lurriger doing, mar gale in our jeer heen. Ní five, sna sheikh on their wine. Ní five, sna sheikh on their wine. Agus gra hachtish kumai, ag rin shiri, sna sheikh on their svi. Shasam go gyar lishim funcha shaw, nor a germ, go doctor and bail bwan, dun changa, agus doing mar gale, da realtis or foot na chira. Is a shaw or gulter, ní rot nairake. Fear minchi our jack's floor aistru farlo gaelic. Current shaw brew or who, agus or galti, marialar an am lukwer, a hurcher a mu, and I chair he sa chumaranga. Nish bunim salt is culter a friller foot na horpa. Is current hester am hen gaminik. Can fa, nak we cartoging swalla. Can fa, nak will na servicey shaw or file in our janga hen. Can fa, nak will ak gilligoging sala ata nuyon. To bresh a shock manage kite chugum, a seal tree fan the gillig. Fi make me kid I go to gafilis tree. Or son ak gillig, ogus a gachan a lagoi chania. Ta kjarta a eliwing, ogus nee stopping which gajigo on the kjarta kena ugging, is the ta ig ahan iladinya. Crejim go ladger a sear shachanga, a jeer nyausblak agus sear. Rud nach crejim na, go image go foil, ag tredge or son our mung cart the dana, sifli and gafilis a shock jag. Murder and kainak, August Maria couple bumacho hen. She and Gillig akko on the hern. She akko on the hern, sonny na Gilliga. Well, Harja, nil a couple of fakul ragamanish. Ak Gillig, a nish, grumila malga.
Melda Munster, Bobby Sands, Common, Drogheda, County Louth. Comrades, this government is threatening the sustainability of Irish public transport. 10% of Dublin bus routes have been handed over to a British company, and 10% of Bus Éireann routes are currently out to tender. This is part of a wider plan to privatise public transport whilst eroding workers' rights. The Minister for Transport continues to underinvest in public transport, which, in the case of rail, is already causing safety concerns. Public transport is a public service. It connects communities. It connects urban and rural. Yet, over 93,000 rural households do not have access to public transport. They have been abandoned by this government. Local authorities have been so stripped of funding that road safety is now a concern. There has been no meaningful investment in transport over the last decade. We need 21st century infrastructure to facilitate economic growth. Ireland is facing years of uncertainty and challenges presented by Brexit. Our poor infrastructure, in particular cross-border infrastructure, is unable to meet those challenges. Drogheda, Ireland's largest town, was excluded from the national planning framework, which is evidence that this government is not making adequate preparations for Brexit. This lack of vision can be seen right across all public services. Ordinary people can't afford to buy a home or rent a home. The Taoiseach thinks that a house costing €300,000 qualifies as affordable housing, maybe to himself and his ministers, but not to ordinary people. The Taoiseach, on behalf of his government, said that Ireland has one of the lowest levels of homelessness. What sort of government comes out with such a weasel-worded, pathetic statement in response to the inhumanity of a homelessness crisis that's all of their own making? I'll tell you what it is. It's a government that is comfortable with having to step over people sleeping on the streets, covered in cardboard for shelter. It's a government that is comfortable with greedy landlords seeking to exploit this emergency. It's a government that's comfortable with 4 generations of a family living under the same roof, comfortable that knowing that younger generations have pretty much assigned themselves to the fact they might never be able to afford their own home. But we are not comfortable with that. My own constituency knows very well the hardship faced by ordinary people in today's Ireland. County Louth has experienced the highest level of rent increases in the past year, 67% from their lowest level. Public health care is in chaos. In Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital, the medical assessment unit is regularly closed. Waiting lists continue to grow. Patients are left lying on trolleys, and children in County Louth are waiting over 2 years for occupational therapy. People in Dundalk have to drive past their own hospital and drive to Drogheda to access services. Our services are crumbling, while this government and their TDs award themselves over €500,000 in pay increases between March of this year and January of next year. But leadership should be about good governance, and good governance should mean a government that works for all, not just the super rich. It should mean a government that works for those on hospital waiting lists. It should mean a government for the homeless, a government for those on housing waiting lists, a government for parents struggling to pay childcare, a government for those paying rip-off motor insurance, a government that ensures that every child has the opportunity to go to third-level education, a government that works for those who cannot get up early because they cannot access home help packages, they cannot access mental health services, they cannot access respite care, they cannot access rehab, they cannot access physiotherapy. And it is crystal clear that this government is consistent in one thing and one thing only, and that is a lack of social conscience. Sinn Féin have that social conscience. Sinn Féin have that social conscience. Sinn Féin is of the people, and Sinn Féin will deliver for the people. Gormaga.
Alicia McKellen, MP for Foyle. The Derry ones will never ever get tired of that, let me assure you. Folks, in Westminster election 5 months ago, the Nationalist electorate sent a clear message. They see their future in Ireland. Almost 250,000 people elected 7 Sinn Féin MPs as the sole voice of Northern nationalism, and we will represent their needs and defend their rights where it matters, be it in Belfast, in Dublin, in London, or indeed in Brussels. For decades, Westminster had turned its back on the people of Ireland. On the 8th of June, the people of the North turned their backs on Westminster. In this context of a hugely damaging Brexit, relentless Tory austerity, and the British government's refusal to implement rights and outstanding agreements, Irish citizens in the North are increasingly looking toward the Oireachtas as an arena to air their grievances and to pursue their aspirations and rights. The Dublin government has a cast iron responsibility to these citizens. For too long, Irish citizens in the North have been excluded from democratic decision-making on the island of Ireland, on issues that affect them deeply on a daily basis. It is long past time that the Dublin government implement the commitment to holding a referendum on extending presidential voting rights to citizens in the North amongst the people of the North and indeed the diaspora. Leo must act in the interests of all of those who are Irish citizens and who seek to engage them in a meaningful, democratic and decision-making way in Ireland. In line with the wishes of the nationalists in the North, the time has now come for MPs to be granted speaking and voting rights in the Dáil. The people of the North elected 7 Sinn Féin MPs on an abstentionist mandate. Nationalists in the North want representation on this, the island of Ireland. Voting and speaking rights for MPs raises the voices of all Irish citizens in the Dáil. It ensures representation in Ireland that they voted for in historic numbers in June past. Any democracy must empower its citizens. The government in Dublin must fulfil this duty for the hundreds of thousands of Irish citizens in the North. No one has anything to fear from Sinn Féin's stance. We stand for universal rights and for democracy. As MPs, we will continue to represent the citizens of this island on the basis, and we will fight to represent them in the Dáil. The first Dáil was a parliament for all of Ireland. Let us return to that Dáil again. Gura míle maith agam.
Kiva Archibald, Colleen, Coley Cantor, East Derry. Fulfilling our potential in the technologically advanced, knowledge-based economy of the future means prioritising the development of a skilled workforce in the here and now. Our young people, and indeed people of all ages, deserve to have educational opportunities which meet their needs and which are accessible to all. Existing research and strategies have pointed to the types of skills which are needed for the jobs of the future. Alongside academic pathways, we need a well-developed and properly resourced professional and technical alternative. There must be an increased focus on creating awareness of the real opportunities which exist from all third-level educational providers. This will require buy-in from policymakers, educators, businesses, employers and parents. Everyone must have access and participation opportunities regardless of background, socio-economic status or ability. The academic pathway is only one option. It does not meet the needs of everyone. Too many young people find their options limited to pursuing university courses solely on the basis of exam results or careers advice, while others are ruled out completely from pursuing further education. Despite efforts at widening participation, those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds are still underrepresented in higher education. Alternative articulation pathways are needed to remove the barriers that exist. In aiming to meet the needs of the economy, there is also a need to ensure courses and programmes are relevant to all learners at all levels. This is where professional and technical education has real potential, not only in skills development, but also in tackling the inherent social inequalities which exist. Real progress could be made in tackling educational underachievement and in reducing unemployment through retraining and upskilling by ensuring there are alternative pathways. This should allow for transfer of credit and recognition of prior learning across all educational providers, both in the further and higher education systems, full-time and part-time. If we truly want to develop our education system to deliver for society as well as the economy, it requires development as a whole. Further education and higher education must go hand in hand, be properly resourced and be prioritised equally. There needs to be real equivalence in the value placed on both. If we are to deliver on an Ireland of equals, all must have the opportunities to achieve and to prosper. Go míle maith.
Lynn Boylan, Sinn Féin MEP, Dublin. "6:45 a.m, Liam and Zoe's alarm clock rings. They begin the long commute from Kildare to Dublin where they work. Buying a house in Dublin was not an option. Their wages would never have covered the mortgage. And although since losing their tracker interest rate, they still struggle to make ends meet, they are in arrears and dread the post coming in the door. 6:45 a.m, Dara and Anya wake up in their rented one-bedroom apartment in Dublin. They want to get married and buy a house, but saving is impossible when you pay $1,200 per month on rent. They could move back in with their parents, but that would mean giving up their jobs and moving back to Cork. 6:45 a.m, Mary has just finished her shift in the accident and emergency unit. She takes off her blood and vomit-soaked uniform and makes her way home. Watching an elderly man spend his dying hours on the trolley weighs heavily on her mind. 6:45 a.m, Sarah boards the plane to London. She is alone and frightened. If only the words that keep going through her head. But deep down she knows she's done nothing wrong and she shouldn't have to make this trip. 6:45 a.m, Connor, 8 years old, is woken by his parents. "It's time to get up. We have to take 2 buses to get you to school on time." "No, you can't bring your friends home after school because the hotel doesn't allow it. And I know you hate it here, but we have nowhere else to go." 6:45 a.m, Louise throws on her shop uniform. At least she has 4 days' work this week. Last week, her employer only needed her for 2. It's impossible to save without a fixed income, but maybe one day she will be made full-time. 6:45 a.m, Gary is prodded in the back of his sleeping bag. "It's time to move on now," says the guard. 6:45 a.m, Leo wakes up. He goes to the gym. A spin class, his favourite. Akarja, this is Fine Gael's Republic of Opportunity. But it doesn't have to be this way. We could be living in a real republic, a new republic, one that only Sinn Féin can deliver. And if you want to be part of that republic, then join us, and together we can make that happen. Gur míle maith agaibh.
Councillor Paul Donnelly, Dublin West. The housing crisis was allowed to turn into an emergency. This was no accident. The foundations of this emergency was laid by Fianna Fáil and cemented by its Fine Gael and its Labour mudguard. The deliberate move away from building social housing to the privatisation of social housing will be the second largest handover of citizens' money to private interests since the banking crisis. Those of us who work in public services are sick and tired of listening how our services must be lean, cost efficient. We must have value for money. Euphemisms usually for cuts, cuts and more bloody cuts. Yet in the provision of social housing, we have a plethora of schemes. Rent supplement, long-term lease, the RAS scheme, and the newest invention, the Housing Assistance Payment, also known as the HAP. Academics in Maynooth University have estimated that the difference between the cost of the HAP scheme and actually building the equivalent number of social housing will be in the region of €23.8 billion over a 30-year period. Now, Taoiseach, how in the name of God is that value for money? How in the name of God can you stand over that waste of public money? Explain to us why it's more cost efficient to build a house for €180,000, such as was built in Ballymun by Oncoolan, than to pay a private landlord anything up to €2,000 per month. Let's be clear, Sinn Féin will make different choices. We will build social and affordable housing. We will ensure that those who want to rent are protected from unscrupulous landlords who are using every loophole inserted into legislation by Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil to evict families so they can rack up the rent. We will provide real rent certainty for every citizen. Sinn Féin will ensure that those who want to buy their homes can buy at an affordable rate and aren't crippled with huge mortgage debt for 30 years. The choice is coming soon, comrades, and the choice will be for our citizens will be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, as we have had for the last 100 years, or a real change, a Sinn Féin-led government. We have a genuine desire to ensure that the next government will be about homes for people and not homes for profit and privatisation. Our people don't want to be on housing lists for over 10 years. Our people don't want to be put on HAP schemes or RAS schemes. They don't want to be put in emergency accommodations. Our people want homes. They want real homes and they want security. So it's time to stop treating your office like a blue short playground. Get up early in the morning, get your government together and start building social and affordable housing. Gonna mean them all.
Can I just ask people to clear the hall now for lunch? Just to remind people, Mary Lou is hosting a women's fringe event in the Daughter Suite B. My place in a New Ireland. Guest speakers are Linda Irvine and Annie Burke. So if everybody can just bring their belongings with them as well. Thank you.